Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Sophie. In case you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. So today I am doing a different kind of video from the videos I normally put out. I am doing a review of the newest show on Netflix, or let me say one of the newest because it's already been a week since it started streaming. And to be quite honest, I had already done this intro, like I had already filmed a video with an intro. But imagine this, after filming for 1 hour, one full hour, I took out my phone from the phone holder only to realize that my phone holder is a bit spoiled, so it went loose, and then because of that my phone dropped, and this part of my head going upwards was actually chopped off. So just to excuse myself for why there won't be a lot of headroom throughout the review, that's actually what happened. I mean, I could not repeat a video that took me a whole 1.5 hours to film. Also, because it was so long, I decided to divide it into two. This is part one. You're going to be able to watch part two. So part one is going to have a lot of the scenes that had the men, a lot of my opinions on the men, a lot of things I found out about the men in the series, and everything in between, of course. I will still be mentioning the women because, of course, some scenes that had the men had the women, but it will mostly revolve around the men. And then also, part two will have a lot to do with the women because they had so much drama, so I felt like it would be nice to separate it like that. People have been doing episode by episode by episode, but remember there's 7 episodes in this entire series, and I knew very well that I did not have the time, in as much as I really would have wanted to do episode by episode review. So we have settled for doing a review of the entire show, but divided into 2 parts. So another disclaimer I will put out there is my opinions in this particular video, part 1 and part 2, the series, they're based on the series. I don't know any of these people personally. If you do, that is good for you, but please do not come for me and start attacking me for what I've said based on what I watched. Again, this is a review of the series, and they insist that it was unscripted, so I will take it as an unscripted series. Wherever you think I'm wrong, feel free to tell me what your contrary opinion is, but don't attack me. Okay, so let's go to the actual video that I filmed. So today I am doing a different video from the kinds of videos I normally do. I am actually doing a review of a show, to be more precise, Young, Famous and African, which is the newest show on Netflix, from Africa that is. It's been trending for about a week now in various countries around the world, and for obvious reasons. Guys, if you haven't watched this show, I think you're really missing out on some good drama, some good African film, some good African production, and you should definitely watch it. So it premiered on 18th of March, which is last week, and I watched it on 19th of March. I already had FOMO by the time by the time it was evening on 18th, and I had to renew my subscription for Netflix on Saturday, that's the following day, and I watched it all at once, like the 7 episodes all at once, because it was too intriguing, it was too exciting, it was just a very, very well produced series, and I honestly cannot wait for season 2. So let me just give you a bit of a background. I knew this show was coming on Netflix this year because I happen to follow Diamond Platnumz. I am such a big fan of the guy, so I saw it on his posts last year, and also saw it on Zari's posts. So I was looking forward to it because it being a fan of somebody, you want to see them in their element away from being the star. And I also really wanted to see what Zari is like aside from being the boss lady that we see on Instagram. So I was already eager to see this show, and I only watched it, to be quite honest, because I knew it was going to have Diamond Platnumz and Zari. And honestly speaking, I was not disappointed. I loved the show, and let me start by saying my favorite characters were Zari, Diamond and Andile. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right because there's that South African pronunciation of his name. But then, yeah, Diamond, Zari, and Andile were my favorite in this entire series because their story, as the 3 of them, is what I think made it so exciting. But if I'm being very specific on just one person, I think Zari, the boss lady, carried the show. So before I get into other characters and other scenes and other things that I found very intriguing in the show, let me just start by congratulating the brains behind this entire show because they managed to bring out Africa in good light. We are so used to seeing Africa being portrayed as, a continent of people suffering, a continent of wars, a continent of drought, disease, poverty, and people even think we live with animals. Like at this day and age, there are still some people out there who think we literally live in forests. I mean, come on guys, this is 2022. You can't possibly be thinking that of Africa. I mean, I'd like to think people are well traveled enough to tell each other that in Africa there's actually life, and what you see on CNN and what you see on all these international stations every other time is not exactly the Africa that we guys who live in Africa are used to, you know, being in like every other day. I personally live in Nairobi. Nairobi is a good city. It's a beautiful city. It's a city with a lot. And every time I see them only showing Kibera, which is a slum, I wonder, why don't they ever show the good parts of Nairobi? We actually live, we don't just survive. But Young, Famous and African has been filmed in Johannesburg, South Africa. I've always wanted to go to South Africa because I've always known it's a beautiful country, but they did such a good job showing Johannesburg because it's beautiful. What a beautiful city, and what a perfect setting for such a show. I honestly clap for them. I clap for the brains and I clap for the cast, because also the cast, the ones I liked and the ones I didn't like, because there's a lot of people I didn't like in that show and a lot of other people that I liked. So the cast also all together, regardless of whether I liked them or not, brought out, you know, Africa in good light, because they were wealthy, they were successful, they had class, they were, you know, they're the people who they were like the perfect ambassadors for the continent, and for that I applaud them. So now let me start reviewing things. Like, I'll try make it an orderly review. That's going to be a bit difficult because I have a lot to say about different scenes that led to this other scenes and this other scenes, but I'll try to be as organized as possible. Like I said, my favorites was Zari, Diamond and Andile, and you're about to find out why. But let me start with the men. I honestly loved all the men on the show except for one, and that is Two-Face. I'm so sorry to say this, and please don't come for me. You know, somebody came for me at my, somebody came at me on my Instagram. I posted a reel and they came at me to abuse me and to commend me and to rebuke me for praising Zari, for clapping for Zari for, you know, her actions in the show, and saying that Annie's behavior was unnecessary and whatnot. You know, the cast have been reposting people's stories on their own stories. Zari reposted mine, and somebody just decided out of all the stories that Zari reposted, they would come for me specifically. I was so shocked, considering I was not in the show. I'm also just a person who watched it, and it's just a show. And if you are of a different opinion, feel free to, you know, tell me what you think, but don't attack me. So my favorite guys, Diamond and Andile. I honestly think Diamond and Andile are the same guy, just from different countries. They have the same character. They're the same person. Like, they think the same. It's just that one is very polished in how he expresses himself, and the other one is very funny in how he expresses himself. Take, for example, Diamond. First of all, he was my favorite, and I think I like Diamond so much because I've been following him since I think 2012, 2013 there, when he was still new in the industry. The guy has the perfect grass to grace story. He grew up with nothing, but he happens to be the most decorated East African artist, or even East African star that we have today, because he's from Tanzania. He grew up with nothing and now has like everything. And also this guy, he lives his life to the fullest. He has stuff, he's a rich man, and he acknowledges that he's a rich man, and he's not afraid to own that. And I think that's something that's so good, because I feel like in Africa we're usually so afraid of, you know, owning that I am privileged and I am like this and like that. He doesn't do it to step on people, he just does it. And then he has so many haters from his own country and so many people who love him from different countries, and I find that interesting. I love that he just lives his life. But then in this particular show, I absolutely appreciated a lot of his personality. He's a cool guy, he's a calm guy, he's very chilled, which is always a good thing. Yeah, he's very cool, calm, collected, chilled, and he's funny. Same to Andile. Andile is a cool guy. He's very calm. He's very collected. Andile is so well put together. Now, the two of them, that is a similarity they have. Like, they're funny, they're chilled, they're well put together most of the time. However, they don't have issues with people, and they're very fair guys, because remember, Andile was always willing to listen to other people's sides of the story, and Diamond as well, because he had to leave at some point. He went to the States to finish his album, but then when he came back and had everything from Zari, everything that had been happening, he said he can't wait to hear everybody else's side of the story. despite the fact that obviously Zari is the love of his life. And Andile, when Nadia, who is also in the series, was talking bad about Zari, he was quick to notice that she wasn't being objective in her judgment, because she wasn't judging Zari for what Zari has done to her, but was judging Zari based on other people's opinions of Zari. She didn't make an effort to find out who Zari is as a person. So I think they're both very fair men. But then I love the fact that gosh, these guys make very good friends. First of all, they're both players. Of course, no one likes players, especially we women do not like players. But you see, when you're watching a show like this, and you're supposed to keep an open mind so that you do not get pissed off by some things. So I found it very funny at the golf course when Diamond was telling his story. If you're East African, then you definitely know the story between Diamond and Hamisa, how the two of them ruined the relationship that Diamond already had with Zari. Because the person who Diamond cheated on Zari with is Hamisa Mobeto. They even ended up having a kid. You remember this entire story? Because I remember watching it back in 2017 when he went to the news, to Clouds FM, and had to confess that, yeah, I do have a child with Hamisa Mobeto, and yes, I did cheat on Zari. And he also said that he would walk on his knees to South Africa just to beg Zari for forgiveness. I mean, it never happened like that, but anyway, that's beside the point. The point is, it was so funny how he was narrating that story. And then Quinton, DJ Naked, who is also in the show, I should have started by stating the men in the show and then the women in the show, but let me just say the men are Diamond, Andile, DJ Naked, whose name is actually Quinton, Swanky, Jerry, and Tubaba, Two-Face Idibia, whose name is also Innocent. So yeah, I mean, when he was narrating this story, and then he says, I don't know whose fault it was for this and that and that, and then Andile just says, I mean, I don't blame somebody else for cheating, because I mean, it's been my fault every time I've cheated. And I remember just laughing at that, because it's good that he's accountable for his own mistakes. But yeah, that was just funny. And then I also really laughed at that part when Diamond was saying how he's interested in Nadia, and then he says, my AKA is Lion, Simba, so I want to hunt. Same thing that Andile did with, or said in regards to Zari. Because I remember Andile said at some point, you know, Zari is looking a little standoffish, like this, like that. But you see, I'm a guy and I like to crack eggs, so you know, it's the same statement expressed in different ways. Diamond says he's a lion and he wants to hunt. He likes to know that the meal that he's having it because he worked hard for it. And this meal in this case was in reference to Nadia, and the eggs in this case was in reference to Zari. And then also they're the only two guys who would think it's okay to invite their baby mamas and their love interests to one gathering at the same time. Along like somewhere in this entire series, first of all, Diamond, after talking about how he's interested in Nadia, invited Zari to his party, an Arab themed party, and at the same place Nadia was there. You know, Nadia was also at the same place. And then Andile at his party invited his two baby mamas, not just one, but two baby mamas, and then his love interest Zari was also at the event. I mean, oh my gosh, does this even happen? These guys have some guts, to be quite honest, because I would never imagine this scenario anywhere else, but well, they showed us that. I also really love the fact that they have this immense respect for their baby mamas. To be quite honest, I love how Diamond respects Zari. I mean, regardless of the past whereby he's the one who ruined the relationship, I loved so much the way his jaw dropped when Zari entered the entire story. Like, he invited Zari to join them for Arab night, and when she showed up, he turned into a completely different man. Like, his jaw literally dropped. He became small. He stopped being the Diamond that we were seeing on that golf course. And at some point, the chemistry that he has with Zari, like, made them forget that there was other people in the entire event. It was just the two of them for a couple of minutes. And it was just exciting to see because they have chemistry. I feel like those two people still love each other. It's just that it's a forbidden love, because Diamond knows that he's a person who cannot stick to one woman. It's very difficult. And I tend to think this is something that's very common when it comes to artists, unfortunately. But yeah, like, that's what he knows, and that's why he doesn't want to hurt Zari. And on the other hand, Zari, from what we saw, is a very strong woman. She knows that she is too good to accept such treatment from Diamond or any other guy, so she cannot, you know, allow him back into her life as, you know, a partner romantically, and says it's better if they co-parent. But generally I love the fact that he has that much respect for Zari, that he can actually shrink like that for such a an egoistic, bold guy who is a player. Like, he can just become small because of this one woman. And I'll be talking about the ladies a bit later, because the ladies had quite the story, but I really loved that. And Andile, I think it's at this party that he started falling for Zari, because I remember him saying how Zari looked like she was delivered straight from heaven, and she really did, because she showed up at the party. She was the most covered up lady. She, like, her hands, everything was covered up, but she still looked the most attractive. To me, she looked like an angel, because when she showed up, even me, I was like, Kai, oh my goodness, look at that outfit. And I feel like that was the start of the problems in that entire series, because, you know, Zari was everything. That was the start of it. But still, we're talking about the men. I also really love the fact that both Andile and Diamond really they really value their families. Like, it was so good to see Diamond with his kids and how he relates with them. I also noticed that Zari was very emotional at that time when Diamond was about to leave to go to the States for his, you know, to finish his album and whatnot. But I like the fact that Diamond, like, you can see he's a good father to his kids. I don't know about the other kids that he has with those other women. I'm just speaking on basis of what I saw in this particular series. And I loved that. And in the same way, I loved how Andile, he really loves his family. We were shown a snippet of that when he went to the graveside alongside his sister and I think his kids, you know, to get closure, because they lost their dad a couple of years ago, and I feel like they really needed that closure. It was good to see just how concerned he was for them and whatnot. And I love the way both Diamond and Andile did not butt heads with anybody in that entire show. I really wish Diamond had been there longer, because he was only in 4 out of 7 episodes, and even in the 3rd episode he wasn't there much because he had to leave, and in the last episode of the season he was also not there too much. But we can agree that the reason why all of us are waiting for season 2 so eagerly is because of how it ended, and it's because of Zari, Diamond and Andile. I honestly cannot wait. I'm literally on the edge of my seat longing for season 2, and I hope it doesn't take too long for it to come. Maki, this is just the first week gone, but we're already longing for a second season. So that's what I'll say about Diamond and Andile in a nutshell. But of course they're going to keep coming up as I talk about other scenes in the entire series. But let's talk about DJ Naked. I found him so funny. He was such a funny guy. I also really liked him. First of all, I liked the way he was saying that Diamond needs to be put on a leash because he seemingly has too much appetite, especially for women, and he needs to be put on a leash. I also really loved the way he and Kanye is one of the women who is part of the cast. Of course, I felt like she was like the host of the show, but then I really love the relationship that he has with Kanye, and I enjoyed so much that argument they had because it was so funny. There's an argument that they had over, you know, the relationships they had, and then Kanye says that, you know, Kanye tells him, you know, Quinton, because it's called Quinton, your relationship is turbulent and I'm trying to help you. And then Quinton says, you should look in the mirror, you should see yourself. Yours is also a ridiculous thing because, first of all, you revealed your boyfriend to us like a genie in a bottle. You basically like, you treat him like a gender reveal party because, you know, they only got to meet this guy at the ball that Kanye had actually organized. He hadn't seen this guy before, so understandably he felt some type of way. And then Kanye goes like, but you also revealed your relationship, like I found out about it on social media. And then he just says, you must like, you must follow, and shut your mouth. And she's like, oh my goodness, you're such a horrible person, I'm going to cry, you know, you're going to make me cry. And he just tells her, if you cry I will leave. And to me that entire thing, like, that argument escalated so fast, and I could picture my sister and my brother, the youngest ones, arguing like that. Like, they argue like siblings who are actually born from the same womb, and the funny thing is that they're just friends who are so close. So I really loved that scene. But what stood out for me so much when it comes to DJ Naked is, despite being a DJ and having all this access to a lot of women, he definitely respects his woman. I say this because he was so open to going for therapy, something that a lot of African men are not open to doing. He agreed to go for therapy with his girlfriend to find a solution to the problems that they were facing. And I think that is such a nice thing, a sweet thing. And I think he served as an example to a lot of men, especially African men, who are usually hesitant to seeking help from a professional on issues related to their relationships. And I think it was so nice that he agreed to be vulnerable in front of the cameras and even apologized to Kaylee at some point. I also really like the fact that he had Zari's back in that train. That train incident, by the way, for me is what made me realize that people can actually be terribly mean. And I'm so happy that he had Zari's back. He and Kaylee had Zari's back, because in that train, to be quite honest, and we'll talk about this train some more, because for me it sealed everything, but he stood up for what he knew was right. And I really loved that. That is a fair man, and he alongside Kaylee were fair in that train. And I also really like the fact that he's the one who came up with the name Zandi, like Zandile, which is Zari and Andile, because they're having this funny relationship that didn't quite sit right with everybody else in that entire show. And this is also something that makes me feel like he's such a good friend, because he was quick to check Andile for doing that, because he kept reminding him that you do know that Diamond exists and he's in love with this woman, and this woman is the baby mama. Bro code states that you are not supposed to go and sleep around with your buddy's ex, who happens to be the baby mama, who happens to still be the love of his life. So I like that, because it just shows that he knows how to stand up for friendship. Like, he knows there's this respect that they need to uphold. And by the way, with Andile, I was so like, I think we all love this man at this point. All of us women, we just love this man. By the way, I feel like Andile and Diamond will keep having women, despite the fact that they have shown their character even on this show. And I feel like with Diamond we always knew, but this show just brought it out more. They like women, they're players, but they will still get women because they're so smooth in how they speak, especially Andile. I mean, every time he appeared on an episode, I was just smiling. Like, I just kept smiling. But the truth is, he did break the bro code. You don't do that to your brother. Like, I kept saying, oh my god, I trusted you right from the start, because I thought he's the guy who is going to be protecting everybody and protecting everybody's relationships. So I definitely didn't see it coming. I didn't see him being the guy who would step into Diamond and Zari's territory and be the third person. Because I remember what the way Diamond was saying, he doesn't care that Nadia has a boyfriend. The most romantic guy will always get the girl. And then Andile says he knows that Zari has she's seeing someone, that she and Diamond have a thing, but if there can be two, there can be three. So polyandry is also a thing nowadays. That's what he said. And I was just like, oh my god. But somewhere somehow in this world, there are women who think they'll be the ones to change Diamond, to change Andile. But yeah, I see how they get women. They are smooth and they're very chilled. They're nice guys. They're guys who, when you think of a guy, you want a guy like that. They know how to praise a woman's beauty. They know how to make you feel special. They know such things. But let me tell you, Diamond really had me. Diamond, he really had me at that time when he said that you should not spit your chewing gums just because somebody gave you a piece of grape. I laughed at that entire parable because it was so funny. I didn't expect it, especially from him. But like, I see his point, and I loved DJ Naked's reaction at that point when he's like, huh? And the way he said, that's probably the cleverest thing Diamond has ever said. It was very funny. It was so funny. And throughout the entire series, I kept calling Nadia the grapes because she was so mean throughout the entire series. She was so mean. To me, she was so mean. And I feel like she's the kind of woman who we are told to stay away from, because you can't just be inheriting enemies and you don't have your own personal experience with this person who you see as an enemy. I don't think it's right. But yeah, that's Quentin for me. I just thought he was such a nice guy generally. I think he's such a good brother figure. And then there's Swanky. Swanky, to me, was the peace in the show. Like, he was that guy who just loved peace. He didn't want, trouble. He didn't want problems amongst his friends. He loved everybody. He didn't butt heads with people. But what stood out for me so much when it comes to Swanky is how good a friend he is to Annie. He's a loyal friend. He was so good to Annie that I kept feeling everybody needs such a friend in their life, because he organized that surprise helicopter ride just to raise her spirits because she was sad. He's also the same person who He didn't want a conflict between Annie and Zari, so he organized the lunch. I was disappointed that he got so angry with Zari that he didn't invite her to his GQ reveal without listening to Zari's story. But then I can give him, you know, benefit of the doubt because Annie is his best friend. So of course, anybody who has a friend that's that close to them will, you know, will understand where he was coming from. And I appreciated that he organized a lunch to just bring them together because he recognized that there was just a misunderstanding there, and it was good. But then he disappointed me so much in that famous train. Oh my gosh, I felt like his outburst was completely unnecessary. I mean, why would you burst out like that in a train in a situation that doesn't involve you? Yet the previous day he was the one who was saying that it was so wrong for Naked and Kaylee to get into an argument and pick sides in a situation that didn't involve them. I thought that was very poor judgment on Swanky's part, but I don't know. I feel like in season 2 he apologizes to Zari because every time I see a lot of Zari's posts online. Of course, I follow her. I've been following her for years because she's very good at clapping back at her trolls, because people troll her for nothing, and I got to see absolutely why. She is a stunning woman, so she's definitely going to ruffle feathers because of just being stunning. She is not just beautiful or pretty, she is a stunning woman. And I usually see Swanky commenting on her posts, and she, you know, comments back. So I tend to think he actually sat down and thought about it, and him being the fair guy that he is, actually saw that what he did was not right. So we'll just have to wait for season 2 to come. But also Zari attended his party in Nigeria, where he organized this entire party to, you know, to watch the series like for the first time. And I think they're still friends. Maybe not so close the way he is with Annie, but they're still friends, and that to me is a plus. But Swanky, let's talk about his outfits. He calls himself the god of fashion, and I see why. He is one of the best dressed guys I have ever seen. I mean, honestly, I loved Diamond's style so much, and I loved Andile's style so much because theirs, like, they dress so well. And this is why I keep saying Diamond and Andile are the same guys, just in different forms. They dress so well. It's just that Andile is so put together, and you can see why. Andile is an anchor, so he always looks put together. He's used to being put together. He's so eloquent in how he speaks. And Diamond, he's an artist. He's a star. He's one of the best dressed stars, if you ask me. And the style, the Andile and Diamond style, is something you can wear as a man every day. Like, it's sensible and reasonable style. Swanky's is over the top. Swanky dresses so well, but he always looks like he stepped out of a photo shoot. Like, his outfits look like they are for an editorial. So in as much as he's well dressed, I really wouldn't I don't think a lot of people can pull off such outfits, but that's what makes him him. So his style is very good. He's very good with fashion, but he looks like he can step into a photo shoot anytime, any day, and I think that's what he wants. And I think if you can pull off that kind of style, then good for you, because he did look very good most of the time. I just wish he didn't do what he did at the train. I think he humiliated himself because he was like, I am not even mincing my words, and then he looks, no one is reacting. I am not even joking right now. Then he looks, no one is reacting. I am upset. He looks, no one is reacting. And when somebody even started reacting, he looked like a damn, he looked very silly because he was saying, we don't have to shout, yet he's the one who is shouting. I think his outburst was just unnecessary, but I kind of feel like somehow he redeemed himself much later, and I think that's what makes him such a good guy. And then we go to the worst character amongst the men, and for me this was Two-Face. Sorry, I had to check if my camera is still recording because I've been in situations where I talked and talked only to end up finding out that it stopped. But Two-Face for me was the worst character in this entire series. And honestly speaking, I know I said you're supposed to watch a show with an open mind, but I felt like this man has broken Annie Idibia so much, like so much, that her character, her behavior throughout the entire show. But then I got so tired of Annie at some point. I was just thinking, my God, I mean, how does a woman get to this point, yet she's supposed to be a powerhouse? But I always felt like it's a reflection of the heart of how broken she is because of this man. Guys, I don't know if you realize this, but Annie said at the very start of the show that she started dating Two-Face when she was, I don't know, 15 or 16. Let's just go with 16 because 16 is older than 15. She was 16 years old when she started dating Two-Face. From what I know, and what is a fact, Two-Face is 9 years older than Annie. Why would a 25-year-old guy be dating a 16-year-old girl? I know people people date people who are older than them, but it's different when a 25-year-old girl dates a 40-year-old man than when a 16-year-old girl dates a 25-year-old guy. To me, in my head, under normal circumstances, a 25-year-old guy is a guy who is probably in his second job. He graduated from school, finished, and has started living his life and whatnot. And a 16-year-old girl is a girl who is pretty much that. She is a teenager. She can't make sound decisions, especially in terms of relationships. And it just seems wrong that he felt that it was right for him to be dating a 16-year-old girl who, under normal circumstances, for example, here in Kenya, is in her second year of high school, and you're out there already in the world. It doesn't seem right, however you look at it, but it just made me understand why everything in their lives is happening the way it's happening. She keeps on hurting Annie. He keeps on hurting Annie. She keeps on taking him back because he's the only guy she's ever known. He's the only guy she's ever seen her life with. She has known him her entire life, and he has mastered the art of, winning her back whenever he does something wrong to her, which I think is so wrong. He has hurt her over and over and over, and it was so difficult to ignore that. You guys, Annie said that she has been with Two-Face before the glitz, before the glam, ever since she was 16. But her first child with Two-Face is his 5th child. In case you don't know, Two-Face Idibia has 7 children. Only two out of the 7 children are actually Annie's kids, which means even after now having a kid with Annie, the first child, he still went on and had another child with another woman. He has 3 baby mamas, and I really hate to say this, but I think he probably has other kids that he doesn't even know he has. Because if you read the story of the first baby mama Two-Face had a child with, they split because he had other women. No, this is this other woman. They split because he had other women. She married some other guy, pinned the pregnancy on this other guy, only for the child to be born, and the child looked like a spitting image of Two-Face. First of all, when I saw that, I just laughed. I laughed so hard, and it's true. He has strong genes because all of his kids, at least the ones I've seen, I've only seen a picture of, I think, 4 or 5, and they all look like him. Like, he has strong genes. So of course this man dumped his wife, they divorced, but then seemingly Two-Face and this lady got back together because they had a second child together. And I keep wondering, where was Annie when all these things were happening? And Annie explained that she was so shocked and she could not believe that he repeated the same mistake twice. And these are things Annie said in her confessional at the very start of the series. I think this man has broken her over and over and over again, because he had 2 kids with this woman. He had 3 kids with another woman who they say broke up with Two-Face because he had other women. Now if all these other women who are not Annie are leaving him because he has other women, don't you think there's a chance he might have other kids that we don't know? I really hope it's not the truth, because that would be the last straw. But I really do not like what he has done with Annie throughout, and I think it stems from how it all started. He just married the girl who he knew would be willing to take all his nonsense regardless of what he did. And that, to me, just, I don't know. I think everybody saw that. Even the men saw that. Because I remember when Andile was speaking to Annie during Kanye's ball, he also felt it. Like, he felt, yeah, this woman is broken, and she has been broken by the husband so much that it literally can be seen. Every other time it literally can be seen. And for me, I couldn't help but pity her. Like, as a woman, I pitied Annie so much, because I don't think anybody, man or woman, deserves such kind of treatment. So my womanly heart felt for her. But generally, when it was now her with the women, I felt like Annie was the worst person ever. No, Nadia takes the cap for being the worst person ever. And I say this without fear of contradiction, because, again, you cannot be inheriting enemies. You cannot be looking at one person based on what you've heard from other people. It's just not right. And I feel like it stems from her feeling something for Diamond. So I think I've spoken about all the guys. I listed them down, so I'm just making sure I've spoken about all the guys before I go to the girls. Oh, also, before I even go to the girls, let me just say, in as much as I didn't like Two-Face in that entire series, just because of what he's done to Annie, that kept on presenting itself in the way Annie you know, Annie was behaving towards everybody. I still find it nice that he went all the way to South Africa to surprise her. I think it was so cute of him to do that. I also really love the fact that he thought it, you know, best to take her to Sun City, which, if you know, is one of the best places in Johannesburg, South Africa, for that nice romantic evening. And it was romantic. I also really loved that he decided to have that renewal of vows. I still think he will cheat. I hope he doesn't, but my once bitten twice shy kind of heart and mind just tells me he will still do it again and she will still stay. I hope it doesn't happen, but well, I can't help but feel like that. Annie really had me when he licked his face like a dog. I said it was so funny. I mean, it was so funny. But yeah, I'll give him his flowers for that, but it doesn't change the fact that I can't believe somebody can do that. He is not a serial cheater. He is a serial heartbreaker. I hope he doesn't do that to her in this coming 10 years after they've renewed their marriage vows. But I still see it happening. I don't know, I can't help it. But anyway, all the best to her. I hope she does not have to endure the same kind of pain. I hope they go for couples therapy. Yes guys, so before I close off this part 1 of Young, Famous and African, let me just say I really cannot wait to see how Diamond and Andile, two of the calmest guys in the series, will attack the situation, will approach the situation or the predicament they are in. Because if you remember correctly, it ended in Andile telling Diamond that he had a thing for his baby mama, who also happens to be the love of his life. I tend to think Diamond can easily put up with any other person dating Zari, just not his friend, because there's a bro code. Plus, he loves this woman. The only reason why he can't be with her is because of his own shortcomings and a lot of things to do with him. But fact remains, you do not expect your friend to do that. So I really can't wait to see how it all goes down. Another thing that I really liked in the show is the fact that, at least in some parts, they included their local languages. I really enjoyed when Diamond added some Swahili, like Swahili in the series. It wasn't much, but it felt good. It felt authentic. I also really loved when Annie and Two-Face were speaking in Pidgin, in that Nigerian Pidgin. I feel like it also added some authenticity in how they interact with each other. And I also really loved when Kanye and DJ Naked had that Zulu stroke Kosa, they usually click when they say that, like when they added a bit of that during the confrontation. I feel like it's important to have those aspects of that make us African in such a series. So I really enjoyed that bit. Also, let me just add that when I was watching this series, you know, the way you can watch something and think, hey, my Kenyan heart would never allow me to take this kind of, or to do this way, or the Kenyan in me would have made me do this. Now, that's how I felt when I was watching the series. I am Kenyan, and I felt like there was a missing thing. Like, I felt like Zari needed okay, she didn't need backup. She handled her situation very well. And this is with regards to women, because I feel like they just needed that one extra woman to join the cast. And I feel like, I kept wondering, like, the entire time I was watching, I just kept wondering, why wasn't Akode cast for this thing? I mean, Annalisa has said they approached her and told her to join it, and she declined. Honestly, I know she had her reasons for declining. They're good reasons, but I really wish she hadn't declined. Regardless, now because she said no, let's just take her out of the picture. But I really kept wondering why they didn't just think of casting Akode in this series. I feel like Akode would have taught those ladies a good lesson whenever they started, you know, arguing those nonsensical things. For example, in the train, they ganged up on Zari for nothing. And I'll be talking about it in part 2, because part 2 is mostly about the women. But honestly, the entire time I just kept thinking, hey, these women have not met Madam Boss. They have not met Akode. They've only met Zari, the boss lady, who was like a class act. She is to be emulated, in my opinion. They have not met Akode. Like, if Akode was cast in this thing, the drama would have been so different. We would have never, ever gotten past it. Like, it would have been like a different dynamic, and I would have loved that. You know, Akode and Zari to me are the same woman. Akode is a hardworking single mom. She's a hardworking woman, mother of 5. Zari is also a hardworking woman, mother of 5. Akode is Madam Boss. Zari is the boss lady. Akode is very irreverent, and so is Zari. She is just, you know, she's a person who respects women, but she also doesn't take nonsense, especially from the same women. And I feel like she would have been a great addition. She would have made those feel like, she would have terrorized those women. Like, they would have literally taken to their heels if not, their makeup would have melted on their faces, because Akode is not somebody you joke with. I also thought, if not Akode, maybe Mbare, because Mbare is another one that does not take nonsense from people. She definitely knows how to, she definitely knows how to fight for herself, and you always want a woman who can stand her ground, who can fight for herself. In this case, we had Zari, but I feel like it would have been so nice if she had backup, and this backup would have been a woman, because, sometimes it just takes a woman to, fight a woman, not a man. Men are usually very gentle towards women in most cases, as we saw, of course, and rightfully so. And then also I thought of Huda. So Madam Boss, Mbare, and the boss chick. Huda is the boss chick. I feel like she also doesn't take nonsense, in as much as Huda is a bit more calm. I feel like she's a bit calmer, but I feel like she would have really also stood her ground. I certainly think some of these things are somehow cultural, because I do not think this ganging up on one woman over nothing is something that we are taught in this part of Africa. I do not mean to discriminate or to sound discriminatory, but I came to realize that sometimes when you watch things or you see things online, you shouldn't be too quick to bash them, because it is cultural. So the way Zari stood her ground, and the way she was maybe the way she was is different from the way Annie was. Like, for example, how she handled her love situation with Diamond versus how Annie handled her love situation with Tupe. I don't know, I could be wrong, but it just felt like it needed that extra touch. Besides, there were many Nigerians in the show, there were many South Africans. I know there were no North Africans, they'll speak for themselves, but as an East African girl, I feel like they should have cast one extra woman, and it should have been nice if she was Kenyan. Vouching for our own people, because there was a Ugandan, there was a Tanzanian. But if there was no problem with repeating, I even found myself wishing Vanessa Mdee was around. I know she's living her best life in the States, but if this woman had a problem with people being stunning, people being beautiful, people being strong, Vanessa Mdee is a stunning woman. She's now, and I like the dynamic of I felt like there needed to be more representation of, like, even a darker lady, because the ladies there were so light except for Annie, and I felt like adding somebody like Vanessa or even Akode would have been a great, like, it would have been a great thing, a great representation of Africa. Because I've watched a lot of Americans asking about it, like, why are they like this and like that. I only know that Kanye is the only one who has admitted to bleaching. I don't know about everyone else. I do not think Zari bleaches because of her genes. She has Indian blood and Arab blood, but what do I know? I'm just saying it would have been so nice to have someone like Vanessa Mdee there also. I do not know about how the bank accounts look like, because I mean, there's a reason why Kenyans are calling it young, rich and famous instead of young, famous and African, because the cast looks very rich. I can't speak for the bank accounts, but I really wish they were there, like Akode, Huda and Mbare. So, and also maybe Vanessa Mdee, if she was around, I think would have been a great addition, because I feel like they would fit into that kind of situation that was there. And Akode, Akode is still my #1 choice. She would have brought that drama to a whole new level. So anyway, watch out for part 2. Also, by the way, another part that I will not forget, how DJ Naked, he fell asleep when his girl just bought fishnets, and the way he was complaining about it. But I will not include that here. That will make the video too long. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Watch out for part 2. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe, and also leave me a comment on what you think of my review. Where did you agree? Where did you disagree? Yeah, I will love to read it. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.